Welcome back. It's now time for one of our favorite segments where we get to chat with some local experts about sports. It's Water Cooler Talk, and it's sponsored by Grand Falls Casino and Golf Resort. Tonight, our own Jody Norstedt is joined by a few great minds to discuss the latest happenings in North Dakota high school sports. Jody?
All right, thank you, Kelly. We are joined by Brad Anderson and Chase Miller of 740 The Fan here in Fargo. And as we get ready, it's a great time of year because we have state tournaments going on. We have region tournaments, the EDC, WDA tournaments will be getting going here next week for basketball. Let's start with hockey. State hockey begins Thursday in Grand Forks. The quarterfinals and championship coming up on Saturday. Chase, we'll start with you. Is this going to be a Grand Forks school that, when it's all said and done, is hoisting another state championship, Central the defending champs, or are we going to see someone else that may be surprised in this field?
Yeah, Bismarck High, Bismarck Century probably want to say we have something to say about it, but it's tough to go to Grand Forks and beat Red River. It's tough to go to Grand Forks and beat, Grand Forks Central. They get to stay in their own beds. They get to play in their own rink. They've had an opportunity now to play in the Ralph here. A fun story has been Grafton Park River, to watch for them to get back to state, because before it was Grand Forks Central, Red River, and Park River. Those are your three teams almost yearly. Yeah. Insert someone else from the EDC. But I think if you had to tell me right now, I would say Central or Red River. It's probably theirs to lose without a doubt.
How about you, Brad?
I think Davies is going to be a really interesting story. And for them to go up and beat Red River in the East Region semifinals was big. I was talking with Scott Peterson, their coach, this week. And so they got out to a really good start against them, and they really weren't intimidated by them at all. And they got a real good goaltender in Jared Winder. Two of their best three scorers, or top three scorers, are sophomores. And where they sit on the bracket, too, I think they're really pleased with where they have, where they get. They got Jamestown, a team they haven't seen yet this year. But you look on that top half of the bracket, and they already beat Century during the regular season. Who knows? Davies might be able to sneak in and get to the finals for the first time.
I like that, and I also think Century's going to have something to say about it. Four of the top five scorers in the state are Century Patriots. Granted, they don't play the competition that the East does. But Century, when they went against Central in the regular season, lost 6-5. That was in Bismarck. So I don't count out the Patriots. I don't know. I think it's going to be a tough one. But I like you said, it's going to be tough to beat the Grand Forks schools in Grand Forks, and Central's playing really, really well right now. Well, Bismarck has won 3 straight titles on the girls' side. What's it going to take to knock off the Blizzard, who now have their best player back in Britta Curl? She went and played for the U.S. team in the World Tournament, the U18 World Tournament. She's come back 32 goals in 15 games played. That's over 2 goals per game is what my St. Cloud State math tells me. Any chance that West Fargo or North South can knock them off and dethrone the 3-time champs?
Well, North South's got a really, really high scoring line. That top line is awfully good. West Fargo doesn't score as much as North South does, but they've got pretty good goaltending. And got to trust Pat Johnson. I mean, for as many state championships as that guy has between hockey and softball, he might devise a scheme there. But it's going to be awfully tough. I think North South's probably got the firepower to do it.
Yeah, they're a talented team.
I was going to say the same thing. Don't look past West Fargo. Brad kind of took my thunder with Pat Johnson. He'll come up with some type of 2-3 zone on the ice or something to kind of limit what happens. With Bismarck. But at the end of the day, it's Bismarck's tournament to lose. A lot of teams might say because they've won 3 in a row, because of what they're bringing back. But, once you get to these state tournaments, the puck bounces a little bit different way, and can West Fargo or some other team get that puck to bounce in their favor against Bismarck?
I think there's something to be said about having the best player in girls hockey, and Britta Curl is the best player. It's just a weapon that's so hard. It's how do you defend that and try to take her away with 2-3 players paying attention to her, and then it opens up some things for some other really good players for the Blizzard. So we'll see what happens. Region basketball, we have region semifinals for girls basketball going on as we speak, guys. And this is going to be interesting. What region do you see as being kind of the unpredictable region right now in girls basketball?
Without question, Region 3.
Yeah.
Chase and I have talked about it all year long with Lemoore, Litchfield, Marion, and Edgley, Colmont, Montpelier, and Medina. Whoever comes out of there is going to be battle tested and ready to go. And some of the teams have already faced each other in district play. But no doubt Region 3, because it's wide open. I mean, any of those teams would be worthy and will do very well at the state tournament.
To go to Brad's point, we bring Carrington on top of that too. Out of the latest top 10 poll, 4 out of those teams were in the top 7.
Yeah.
So who's ever going to make it out of that region is definitely going to be battle tested. And you could argue it could be a 1 or 2 seed come the state tournament. Shiloh Christian, they've continued to play really well for the Skyhawks in terms of the season that they've had. Can the Kindred Vikings, that's been a theme this year in Region 1. Where can they go? There's always some fun teams. We saw Killdeer almost yesterday lose a number 1 seed, out in Region 7. Can they possibly make the state tournament? Watford City is a fun story to watch because this is the last year they're in Class B before they go up to Class A, so they got a lot to play for, and they've been a team out of Region 8 that's been at the state tournament year in and year out for the Wolves out there, Jody.
Like you guys mentioned, Region 3, I agree with you. Carrington, I think, is playing Ellendale, or Edgley calling Montpelier, and then you have Medina Pingree Buchanan playing Lemoore LM, who won the state volleyball title, so Lemoore LM has championship cred. The only shame is that only one of these teams is going to get to play at state. I think that's just, it's pretty crazy. Let's talk a little bit about the EDC boys basketball race as we continue to jump around here. Biggest surprise right now in the EDC boys race, we have Davie sitting at the top, West Fargo at second, Cheyenne at third. What's your biggest surprise so far, Chase?
Fargo South maybe is a little bit of a surprise for me in just terms of not saying that they couldn't be where they are right now, but they have a really good contention of making a state tournament title, and they maybe been a team that hasn't been talked a lot about. They picked off West Fargo Cheyenne. They picked off West Fargo. They picked off a couple of the big teams in the EDC. I think Fargo South is the nice story. The other 4 teams that are the top 4 with Cheyenne, West Fargo, Davies, and Shanley, all were at the state tournament last year.
Those top 3 teams have kind of beat up on each other.
Yes.
Do you have one that you say, okay, this is the team that I see as the favorite right now? Might not necessarily be the one when it's all said and done, but do you have a team that you're like, okay, this is the favorite? Because in my opinion, I think that's Davies, and that's easy to say. They're number 1 in the standings, but they just have so many different weapons on that roster.
I think that's what separates them. West Fargo has that too, to maybe a lesser extent, and we talk about Pistorius and Lennon, but Sufi and Zapata can make some plays for him, but I think as a whole, Davies, you're right. I mean, they can 4 or 5 different guys. I mean, it could be Claybo, it could be Muchenbacher. I mean, it could be some of their other guys, some of the kind of not the reserve guys, but guys that kind of are behind the scenes a little bit that could beat you too.
Joe Pistorius, certainly fun to watch. He just passed Zach Westfall in the game, the head-to-head game, West Fargo and Cheyenne. Pistorius passed Westfall for the lead in EDC scoring. Quickly, EDC girls race, which team are you most confident going into the postseason? Because again, another front-loaded standings, Davies, Red River, Cheyenne, Shanley all in the mix.
I was going to say, can I tell you tonight? Because they're all playing each other tonight,
right.
So West Fargo Cheyenne, they have a fun team. Maggie Mansman, Yasmina DeCaro, the way that they're able to play. Kiera Free, a lefty, everything looks better when you're a lefty and you're shooting jump shots, and she's so smooth on the floor. They have the skill, but they don't have necessarily the size. Fargo Davies, Red River, Fargo Shanley, they all have a big girl inside that can kind of take away the paint and take away the area. Sarah Berg, for example, is one for Fargo Shanley. I think it's Fargo Davies right now. Give credit to where credit's due. Tim Jacobson has went to Fargo Davies and in a short amount of time has put them as a perennial power now in the EDC, and they have an opportunity, barring the results tonight, to clinch a number 1 seed in the EDC and really put their throttle on this race to try to be a 1 seed come tournament time, Jody.
Certainly has some talented players on that roster.
He does, and they got Geffrey back. That certainly helps. And Kotzik's a veteran. She's been playing, I think, pretty much since her freshman year. And I think when they went over to Shanley and they pretty much kind of took some things away from the Deacons in the second half of that game, I think that might have established themselves as maybe right now just slightly better than Shanley or Cheyenne, but can't forget about Red River and Devil's Lake too. I mean, Devil's Lake's has certainly been very good at home. Now, can they go to a neutral site and win a couple of tournament games?
And they're one of those teams that can really put pressure on you and create some turnovers, both Devil's Lake and Red River. We got to see that firsthand on a game we broadcast earlier this season. Guys, appreciate the time. It's going to be a fun couple of weeks, isn't it?
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Brad Anderson, Chase Miller joining us here on Water Cooler Talk. Kelly, back to you.
All right, thanks so much, guys. When we come back, our very own Brian Sean has a Midco Mag story on a college coach in Duluth and former Olympic hopeful who has become world famous for his excitement as an Olympic announcer. You don't want to miss this, so stay right here.